What would you do if the person who destroyed your life was bleeding out on your operating table, and you were the only one who could save her? My name is Dr. Elena Whitfield. I'm 33 years old, Chief of Trauma Surgery at Harborview Regional Medical Center in Connecticut. 6 years ago, my older sister Cassie told our parents I had dropped out of medical school. One lie. That's all it took. They blocked my number, skipped my graduation, missed my wedding. For 6 years I was nobody's daughter. Then last month, Cassie was rushed into my emergency room, unconscious, bleeding out. And when my mother saw the name on the white coat walking through those doors, she grabbed my father's arm so hard it left bruises. But before I tell you what happened, you need to understand why I almost didn't walk in. Growing up in Providence, Rhode Island, the Whitfield house had 2 daughters, but only one who mattered. Cassie was the performer, school plays, student council, the girl every adult adored. I was the quiet one, with a biology textbook at Thanksgiving, the invisible one. 9th grade, I won first place at the state science competition, the first gold medal in our school's history. That same week, Cassie landed the lead in the community musical. My parents went to her show. When I came home with that medal, my father glanced up from his newspaper and said, "Good job, Ellie," then looked back down. I put the medal in a drawer and never took it out again. So I made myself a promise. If I couldn't be the daughter they were proud of, I would become the daughter they could not deny. When my acceptance letter arrived from the University of Washington School of Medicine, my father read it slowly and said, "This girl is going to make something of herself." My mother called everyone she knew. For the first time in my life, the pride in her voice was directed at me. Across the table, Cassie smiled, but only with her mouth. Her eyes were already calculating. That same week, she started calling me constantly, asking about my professors, my classmates, every detail. I thought she finally saw me. I was handing her a loaded weapon with a grateful smile. I gave my sister everything, and she used every piece of it to take me apart. 3rd year of medical school, my closest friend Amy Pearson was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Amy had no family, just me. I filed a formal leave of absence, fully documented, dean approved, every paper signed and stamped. I drove her to chemo, sat beside her at 2 in the morning, when the pain was unbearable. I called Cassie to explain. Her voice was warm as honey. "Stay with your friend. I won't say a word to Mom and Dad." 72 hours later, she called them. I found out on a Tuesday night in November, sitting in a plastic chair beside Amy's hospital bed. My phone lit up. "Dad." His voice came through cold and flat. "Cassie told us everything. The dropping out. The guy you've been involved with. All of it." I pressed my hand against the wall just to feel something solid. "Dad, I'm in a hospital right now. I'm taking care of my friend. Cassie said you'd have a story ready." Then my mother, voice trembling. "You've been lying to this family for over a year." I stayed as steady as I could. "Mom, I have the paperwork. I can give you the dean's number right now." My father cut in. "Enough. Call us when you're ready to tell the truth." The line went dead. 4 minutes and 17 seconds. 20 minutes later, a text from Cassie. "I'm so sorry, Ellie. I just couldn't keep this secret anymore." Broken heart emoji. She wasn't sorry. Over 5 days, I called 15 times, sent 2 documented emails, mailed a handwritten letter priority. It came back unopened, my mother's handwriting on the return label. Aunt Carol called my father directly. He told her to stay out of it and hung up. On the 6th day, I stopped calling. Not because I gave up. Because I finally understood. They had made their choice long before Cassie made that call. Amy passed away on a quiet Sunday in December. I was the only one in the room. 7 people attended her funeral in a chapel that held 80. That evening I found a note tucked inside her copy of Grey's Anatomy. "Finish what you started, Elena. Don't let anyone, not even your own blood, tell you who you are." I opened my laptop and pulled up the re-enrollment form. What I didn't know was that Cassie hadn't stopped. While I was surviving, she was building, carefully, quietly. But first, I had to build something of my own. I went back to school in January, with student loans, a part-time research job, and cafeteria leftovers most nights. Anatomy exams don't pause because your family disowned you. 13-hour rotations don't shorten because you cried in a supply closet at 2 in the morning. So I stopped crying and started working. I graduated on time. Nobody from Providence came. In every graduation photo, there is exactly one family member beside me, Aunt Carol in a blue dress, crying behind her sunglasses. She was enough. I matched into surgical residency at Harborview Regional Medical Center, where I met Dr. Susan Hale, 60 years old, former chief of surgery, the mentor and mother figure I had lost. During my second year, I performed emergency surgery on an 8-year-old boy after a serious car accident. When I came through those doors afterward, his father crossed the hallway in 3 steps and wrapped both arms around me, sobbing, "Thank you for saving my son." I stood very still, hands trembling slightly. It was the first time in years someone had held me and said thank you. I stood there longer than I needed to. Shortly after, I met Daniel Mercer, a civil rights attorney, calm and dry-humored. I told him everything over 3 hours of coffee. When I finished, he said 4 words. "You deserved better than that." We married in Dr. Hale's backyard. Daniel's father walked me down the aisle. My invitation to Providence came back unopened. Meanwhile, Cassie was performing the role of grieving older sister at every family gathering, telling our grandmother I was homeless, telling our uncle I was in and out of treatment programs. Then 6 months ago, Daniel set his coffee mug down carefully, the way he does before bad news. Someone using a false name had contacted my hospital's HR department, questioning my credentials and disciplinary record. He traced the IP address. Providence. Cassie hadn't just lied once. She had been hunting me for years. Life was about to expose everything, in the most brutal, ironic way imaginable. 3:14 in the morning, Wednesday, January. My pager pulled me from a dead sleep. Level 1 trauma. Female, 36. Motor vehicle collision. Hemodynamically unstable. ETA 9 minutes. Dressed in 4 minutes. Driving in 6. At intake, my charge nurse Linda handed me the tablet. I swiped to the chart. Cassandra Whitfield. Emergency contact. Robert Whitfield. Father. I stopped walking. Every sound in that ER pulled back like a tide. 3 seconds, maybe 4. I wasn't the chief of trauma surgery. I was a 27-year-old on a hospital floor in Seattle, staring at a call screen reading 4 minutes and 17 seconds. "Page Dr. Nguyen," I told Linda. "Stand by tonight." She started to ask why. "Just do it." The ambulance doors opened. Cassie came through, strapped down, unconscious, oxygen mask fogging with each shallow breath. Behind the stretcher ran my parents, my mother in a bathrobe, slippers on the wrong feet, my father gray-faced in a flannel shirt. He grabbed the nearest nurse. "That is my daughter. I need whoever is in charge right now." Nurse Carla glanced through the glass, found my badge, eyes wide for half a second. I gave her the smallest shake of my head. Not yet. In the scrub room, I turned on the hot water and looked at my reflection in the steel panel. Distorted, compressed. Part of me wanted to call Nguyen and walk away. Let my parents owe Cassie's life to a stranger, but she had 30 minutes, maybe 40, and the best surgeon in this building was me. I paged Nguyen directly. Conflict of interest. Patient is family. Documented in the chart. If my judgment wavers, you take over immediately. Understood, Chief. I pulled on fresh gloves, pushed through the OR doors, and looked down at the table. Fine lines around Cassie's eyes that hadn't been there 6 years ago. For 3 seconds, I let myself see my sister. Then I set that down. Scalpel. 3 hours and 52 minutes. Ruptured spleen removed. Grade 3 liver laceration repaired layer by layer. 3 mesenteric vessels clamped and cauterized. At 7:06, final stitch. Cassie was alive. Dr. Nguyen pulled his mask down. That was flawless. I dried my hands and straightened my badge. "Do you want to talk to the family?" "No," I said. "This one is mine." That hallway felt like crossing a continent. I pushed through the waiting room doors. Surgical scrubs. Badge visible. Dr. Elena Whitfield, MD. Fax. Chief of Trauma Surgery. My father stood up. "Doctor, how is she? Is Cassie?" He stopped. Eyes dropped to my badge. Rose to my face. Dropped again. I watched recognition move through him like electrical current. My mother looked up, lips parting with no sound. Her hand shot to my father's forearm and gripped it hard enough to leave 5 bruises, 5 seconds of silence containing 6 years. Mr. and Mrs. Whitfield, I said, in the same voice I use for every family. Your daughter sustained a ruptured spleen and grade 3 liver laceration. Surgery was successful. She's stable. Mr. and Mrs. Whitfield. Not Mom, not Dad. I watched that land. My mother stepped toward me, arms lifting. I stepped back, half a step, polite, unmistakable. Her hands hung in the air, then slowly came down. Then Linda appeared at the door, completely unaware of what she was walking into. The Physician of the Year Committee confirmed your nomination, Dr. Whitfield. My mother whispered it back to herself. Physician of the Year. Internal recognition, I said. I need to check on my patient. I walked back down that hallway, spine straight, steps even. Through the glass behind me, I heard my mother's voice, small and completely broken. Robert. What have we done? My father said nothing. For the first time in my life, his silence was the most honest thing he had. That silence was the beginning. What followed was the slow, unglamorous process of truth, reclaiming every room it had been locked out of for 6 years. In the ICU that morning, Cassie's eyes tracked to my badge. Read it once, read it again. The color drained from her face. You're a doctor. Chief of this department. 2 years. I watched the calculation flicker behind her eyes, even through the morphine. Elena, just listen. You don't need to explain anything to me, I said. You need to explain it to them. I nodded toward our parents at the glass door and left without another word. When they walked in, Cassie sobbed loudly enough to spike the heart monitor. You have to believe me. I never wanted it to go this far. My father's voice came back controlled and tight. Elena is the chief of trauma surgery at this hospital, Cassie. She pivoted immediately. Okay, good for her. She still walked away, and my father said something I had never heard him say to her. She walked away because we blocked her number, because you told us to. Aunt Carol arrived at 10 that morning. No hugs. She walked to the center of the room and said, I have been waiting 6 years for this conversation. She opened her phone, a folder labeled simply, Elena, the truth. Screenshots of my emails, my signed leave paperwork, my re-enrollment confirmation, my graduation photo, just the 2 of us in the frame. Then she read aloud a text Cassie had sent her 4 years earlier. Please don't tell Mom and Dad. Elena is in residency. They've finally found peace. It will only complicate things. The room went still. Then my mother read the last email I had ever sent them, written the night before my residency graduation. I'm not sure you'll ever read this. I graduated today. I wish you were here. I am still your daughter. I never stopped being your daughter. My mother folded forward in the chair and made a sound I will never forget. The sound of someone hitting the full weight of something they cannot undo. My father turned to face the window. His shoulders shook. Aunt Carol told me later it was the first time in 63 years she had seen him cry. End of my shift. I returned to the waiting room. My mother rose immediately. Elena, I am so sorry. I raised one hand gently. I hear you, and I believe you mean it, but an apology is a starting point, not a destination. I am not the girl you sent away. I built a complete life without you. If you want to be part of it now, it will be on my terms. 2 weeks later, I met Cassie at a coffee shop in Middletown. She looked hollowed out, thinner, quieter, nothing left of the confidence she used to wear like armor. Why? I asked. Long silence. Then, because you were going to be everything I wasn't, and I couldn't handle it. That's the first honest thing you've said to me in 10 years. She admitted she had called my medical school 3 times, trying to get my paperwork declared fraudulent. I laid out my conditions. A full, factual email to all 52 family members. No justifications, just the truth. Aunt Carol would confirm delivery. At my parents' kitchen table in Providence the following week, I told them they needed therapy. Not for me, but for themselves, to understand how they had believed a lie about their own daughter for 6 years without once verifying it. My father's jaw tightened. We don't do that in this family. I looked at him steadily. That is exactly why we're sitting here, Dad. Cassie sent the email on a Wednesday. 3 paragraphs. No softening. Elena never abandoned this family. I made sure everyone believed she did. That is entirely my fault. Our 91-year-old grandmother called me directly. I have never been deceived so completely by someone I loved. Nobody organized a campaign against Cassie, but the trust she had built over 36 years dissolved quietly and permanently. The invitations stopped, the calls thinned. For someone whose entire identity rested on being believed, that silence was its own sentence. At the Physician of the Year gala, 200 people filled the Hartford Marquise ballroom. Daniel and Dr. Hale sat at the front table. In the very last row, Aunt Carol had quietly arranged 2 seats. My parents sat there in their good clothes, looking up at the stage with grief and pride fighting across the same face. 6 years ago I almost quit, I said. Not because I couldn't do the work, but because I lost the people I thought I needed. What I learned is that the people you need aren't always the ones you were born to. Sometimes they're the ones who choose you. And sometimes, the ones who were supposed to be there find their way back. Late, but present. My mother covered her mouth. My father stood up. Afterward, he found Daniel near the exit and stood before him for a long moment. I should have been the one to walk her down that aisle. I am sorry. Daniel took his hand and held it. We're here now, sir. It is the first Sunday of February. Snow falls softly outside the kitchen window, the kind that doesn't stick but makes everything look gently forgiven. I'm making French toast. Daniel is grinding coffee beans, singing off-key and shameless. Biscuit is stationed under the table, eternally optimistic about crumbs. The doorbell rings. My parents stand on the porch in their winter coats. My father holds a bottle of orange juice like he doesn't know what to do with his hands. My mother holds a tin of shortbread, the kind she baked for every single one of Cassie's events. Never once for mine. Hi, she says. Nervous, hopeful. Come in, I say. Coffee's almost ready. My father steps inside and looks slowly around the kitchen. The house he has never been in. The life he came so close to never knowing. Can I help with anything? I look at him. 64 years old, standing in my kitchen for the first time, asking permission to be useful. You can set the table, Dad. He opens the cabinet, takes out the plates and counts them. Looks at me. 4. He sets them down one by one, carefully. The way you handle something you are afraid of breaking. My mother wraps her arms around me at the stove. No words. Just her forehead against my shoulder, and her arms holding on. Biscuit thumps his tail. Snow drifts past the window. The French toast sizzles in the pan. My name is Dr. Elena Whitfield. I am 33 years old. And I am, slowly, carefully, one small moment at a time, allowing myself to be someone's daughter again. 4 plates. It's a start.